Hello, my name's Inlay, and today I want to do something different from what I normally do. I want to talk about this oracle deck. It's called the Angels and Ancestors Oracle Cards, obviously, by Kylie Gray, artwork by Lily Moses, published by Hay House. And I want to talk about it because I've been thinking about it today. And I've been having a lot of thoughts that really I should try to articulate out loud to get it out of my system. Because there are some things that are really bothering me. And yeah, so, okay. This was my second ever oracle deck. I got it about a year ago. And I picked it because I liked the artwork. I liked how earthy it was. I liked that when people on YouTube were talking about shamanic oracle decks, this was mentioned. And I kept seeing it, and people kept saying good things about it. And I bought it because of this, right here. And we'll get back to that. So, and also, I only had one oracle deck, which is the Animal Spirit Oracle by Kim Krans, which is just drawings of animals and the name of the animal, so there's no like keyword. Oh, excuse me. And when I do tarot, I do a lot of shadow work and I look at a lot of unpleasant things within myself, difficult emotions, difficult memories, things like that. So I wanted an oracle deck that would be nice to kind of give myself a break, or like dessert after dinner or something like that. And I figured, based on what I was seeing online, that this would fit the bill. My dog is behind my back right now. I hope he will lay down. He did. Okay, so let's get into it. Well, my heart is beating, and it's like partly I'm nervous about expressing my opinions on the video, but partly I'm so upset about this deck that it's like affecting me physically. So anyways, good things first, because it relates, it's relevant. So I have some cards here and I've marked off their pages in the guidebook. Where to begin? Okay, so this deck is diverse in terms of ethnicities and cultures, and that's a good thing about it. I think that's why a lot of people like it, or part of why a lot of people like it. And when you look at it in the guidebook, you can see with a druid, it says the druids were the ancient wise ones of the British Isles. So, okay, they've told me in the guidebook what culture this person belongs to. It's a druid, part of ancient culture of the British Isles. Okay, good, cool. That's good. So then we move to the next one, which is the elder. And it says that the Aboriginal people are the oldest tribal people still living on the planet. Okay, so this is an Aboriginal person. Okay, I know that. That's good. Because showing people of different ethnicities isn't really enough for diversity. You need to, in my opinion, if you're showing off a culture, you need to say what that culture is. You know, it's not obvious to me, who lives in northern Norway, that this is an Aboriginal person, but through the book, I come to know that it is. And it gives credit where credit is due, if that makes sense. So yeah, Aboriginal person, cool, that's good. Then we have this white guy. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a white dude. And he looks very Jesus-like. So I look in the book and it says, this card was inspired by Jesus, who is one of the most widely acknowledged and loved spiritual teachers of all time. Okay, so this is actually inspired by Jesus. So again, they state the source of what they're showing in the card. We get to the high priestess. And it doesn't say right away, but if we read a bit, it says, she looks Egyptian, right? And then we read, she is joined by a black cat, representing the Egyptian goddess Bast. Okay, so now we know this is actually Egyptian in origin. So you see they're representing different cultures and stating explicitly what kind of culture that the card is based on. That's good, I like that. We'll get to this dude, the hunter. And it says, the hunter card is based on my favorite Celtic god Cernunnos. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. So, again, Celtic origin, Cernunnos, good, cool. And ooh, I can see straight away Native American, and I'm getting nervous inside of me, you know, because Indigenous American people haven't been treated well. So I'm like, oh, how are they gonna do this? And they start off by writing, the peacekeeper is a wise Native American woman who has been influenced by white buffalo woman. Okay, immediately there's something here for me to Google if I want to know more about this, what culture or what history influenced whatever is going on this card, you know. So again, they've stated their source. Good. This guy, Shaolin Master, we don't even need to look that up in the book because it says Shaolin Master. Obvious. Okay. So that's all well and good. And I'm like, okay, this isn't that bad. You know, it doesn't feel too tokenistic. They're telling me where all of these different people stem from, what kind of culture the image is based on, so that I can go and do my own research to get informed about cultures and history and teachings and all of that I know nothing about, which I think is part of the point of citing where something is from. You know, if I say that I draw this card and say that I keep drawing it, it's like a stalker card, and I know nothing about Celtic anything. I know so little about it that I don't want to say Celtic mythology in case I offend anybody. So, you know, but if I keep getting this card, maybe I want to do some further research into whatever is going on. I see there's some spirals here, and I don't know if I'll be able to pick, there it is. You see that there? it's on the card, and if I keep getting the card, maybe I want to research that symbol and what it means, you know? So by them stating in the book that this is based on Celtic paganism, then I have a keyword that I can use during internet searches so that I can educate myself, you know. And what's the point of having diversity in a deck? One point, of course, is that you, as the one using the cards, should be able to see yourself in the cards and relate to the cards, no matter your culture and heritage and ethnicity. That's one point. But another point, and I think this is equally important, is that for us white people, it's a learning opportunity, especially if we grew up in communities that were predominantly white and we didn't have a lot of cultural diversity surrounding us. Then having all of these bits of different parts of the world in one deck and then citing the sources in the guidebook means that we can learn, you know, and we can step out of our own bubble. And I think we need that. So with all of these cards, you know, they're citing sources and I'm feeling optimistic and all of that, you know, they've set the bar kind of high, you know. They show that they are capable of citing sources or sharing with me what kind of culture this card is based on. Then we get this one, the Traveler. And immediately when I look at it, I see a Middle Eastern woman. I see someone who is maybe Afghani, Irani, from Iraq, maybe. My immediate hit is Afghani woman. And so I turn to the guidebook. And the first sentence is, the Traveler card represents the gypsy spirit within. Is this a Romani person? If this is a Romani person, should they not say in the guidebook that it's based on Romani people, like they were able to do, perfectly capable of doing with all of these other cards? If this is a Romani person, they should say so. If this isn't a Romani person, if this is actually someone from the Middle East, and then I am like, you see that card shaking? I'm shaking. I'm getting upset by this because I did not grow up culturally isolated. My mom, she worked with refugees, specifically refugee youth who came to Norway without parents or guardians. And she was a single mother, so I went with her to work and to all kinds of work-related things, and got to meet a lot of the people that she worked with when I was younger. And if this is a Middle Eastern woman, if this is an Afghani woman, and they haven't mentioned that in the guidebook, and they've put the keyword traveler, move in a new direction. I grew up surrounded by refugee crisis after refugee crisis, and most of the refugees came from the Middle East. And they were not travelers. They were not moving in a new direction. They were not like the guidebook. It's like going on a trip is an exciting process because not only do you learn about the world, you also learn about yourself. This card often comes up when you have a chance to go through a process of awakening and understand even more about the amazing qualities you have to share with the world. And I just... the people that I grew up surrounded by, who were from the Middle East, who were the most lovely people, so warm, so kind, they were not travelers. They were not moving in a new direction to expand their sense of self or whatever. They were refugees. They had to flee their country for their own survival, and they missed their homes, and they missed their homeland, and they literally couldn't go back because then they would get killed. And I'm like, this woman, she's either Romani or she's from the Middle East. Either way, this is all wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's just, if she's Romani, they should say so in the guidebook, and they shouldn't reinforce stereotypes in such a narrow-minded way. If she's from the Middle East, what the fuck were they thinking? Sure, represent Middle Eastern people in the deck, but don't put on the fucking traveler keyword. Like refugees are just going on some great adventure. If you want to have a traveler card, you can show off like some American van lifers or something. You know what I mean? This really... oh, it bugs me. Okay. That was rant number 1, but a second one is coming. I'm getting a sip of water. Okay. So, not only have they failed to identify the source, the cultural source of this card, you know, but furthermore, we have, and people keep referring to this as like a shamanic deck, which is part of why I bought it. We have this drum. It's smack center of the drum card. You see the same drum on the shaman, who's carrying feathers and bells and also all sorts, you know, but there's the drum. It's also on the back of every single card. So I'm just going to put the 2 others away because we know this drum is everywhere. And let's bring it up closer so you can see the details here. Gorgeous drum. Really beautiful, really shamanic, really earthy, really, you know. When we look to the guidebook, first we go to the shaman. There is nothing here about any specific traditions, any specific cultures. Just the shaman will aid you on your quest. Things and stuff. And then we go to the drum. And it says, in shamanic traditions in all 4 corners of the world, the drum is recognized as the main tool used by medicine men and women to redirect their will and aid meditation. Okay, and there is nothing here either about any cultural references, any kind of words to anchor this in space or time. There's nothing here for me to do internet searches on. There's nothing here that will make me learn anything new. And you might think, well, what's the big deal? It's a drum, right? And shamanic practices, shamanic drumming, it belongs to all cultures. True. Here's the thing though. This specific drum design right here, this design with a symbol in the middle, symbols around the edge of the drum, symbols scattered like this, it's Sámi. In case you don't know, Sámi are the indigenous people of Sápmi, which is a part of northern Norway, Sweden, Finland, and a part of Russia. Sápmi stretches down into central Norway, even. I was born and raised and currently live in Sápmi. I have Sámi ancestry. I know this design. This symbol in the middle here, it's the sun. We have reindeer. Let's bring it up closer. So we have the sun. Here we have another sun. Really crude moon. We have reindeer, people. If you look at this symbol here, this is a church. And the thing about Sámi shamanism is that this kind of drum, runebomme, was a standard household item a few hundred years ago. Then Christian, what are they called? The people who come to convert other people to their religion. Christian people came along and wanted all of Norway to turn Christian. Lutheran, I think, to be precise. Including Sámi people. And the drums were burned. Thousands of them, I mean thousands of drums were burned. There were a couple of Sámi shamans, Noidis, who were convicted as witches and burned. We talk about witch trials in the world and the craze, in Europe and in the US and stuff. There were people not far from where I live now that were killed because they were doing shamanistic work and they were using their drums to journey. And we hear about the boarding schools in Canada that Indigenous kids were sent to. We don't hear about the boarding schools in Norway. There were boarding schools. I don't think any of my immediate ancestors were sent to boarding schools, but I have met people throughout my life whose parents and grandparents were sent to boarding schools, and they were forbidden from speaking Sámi languages because there are more than one Sámi language. And you couldn't own land if you were Sámi, so a lot of people would change their names to Norwegian names and would marry someone Norwegian just so that they could own land to do farming to survive. In Sweden, Sámi women were forcefully sterilized. We have had systematic oppression and erasure of Sámi people, Sámi culture, Sámi religion and worldview and spirituality for hundreds of years. We've had thousands of drums burned. We've had actual Sámi people being killed because of their spiritual practices. And we finally get to see a bit of ourselves in a mass market oracle deck, and nowhere in the entire book does it say anything about Sámi people. It's not mentioned once. And I'm baffled. I was stoked to see this. I was like, I know those symbols. I know that drum. This speaks to me. This is part of my culture, my ancestry, my way of experiencing the world. I don't see that very often, and I saw it in this deck, and I go to the guidebook and I see that they were capable of referring to all of these different people, like even Jesus. Everybody can see. Everybody who is able to get this oracle deck will understand that this is Jesus. Still, they mentioned it in the book, that this is inspired by Jesus. And they take a sacred instrument from a group of severely oppressed Indigenous people, and they can't even mention that it's based on Sámi symbolism. I can't work with this deck. And I'll show you, hold on. I can't really figure out, whatever. I'll show you. I just need to adjust some stuff here. You see this? This is my drum. You see this here? This is a church. This is a symbol for the sun. I think we even have some reindeer here. There, reindeer, reindeer. So, take this in for a second. Have you taken it in? Have you absorbed this image right here? Good. I'm going to bring the lights back. And we're going to have another look at this drum card. Do you see this? Do you see the similarities? And they have it on the back of their cards. Every single card has this drum on it with Sámi symbols. And they couldn't be bothered to say in the introduction or anywhere else in the guidebook that this is Sámi. And whenever I try to work with this deck to get some comfort or whatever, I was reminded of the oppression we've faced and the shame that still lingers in our society. People aren't even aware. It's like, as a community, as a society, we have like societal shadows that people can't see. That is the shame and fear associated with Sámi shamanism. Because if you were Sámi and you were doing this kind of shit, you were in serious trouble. So every time I tried to work with this, I was reminded again that they don't actually reference this stuff in the guidebook. And it was like we were being erased all over again. And it pains me. It really... And I need to cover this Jesus dude. Oh my god. It pains me. And it's not the useful kind of pain either. Because sometimes when we're working with tarot or oracle, uncomfortable things are stirred up, and we look at cards and they are painful or yucky, or they make us sad or whatever, and it's a good thing because it allows us to look at something that we weren't aware of or that we were trying really hard to not look at. And it helps us. This doesn't help me. I already know that we've been oppressed. I already know all of the dark history that's been going on. And I don't need another example of Sámi erasure in my life because I have enough of it. And this doesn't help. This is only harm, only hurt, no help at all. And my plan was to take this to the secondhand store and let someone else use it. But then I realized that the people who go to my local secondhand store most of them have the same history that I have, or they themselves were sent to boarding schools. And I don't want them to have the same experience that I've had. I don't want anyone to be dealing with this deck, especially not people from Sápmi, because we deserve better. And this is going in the recycling bin. I'm taking a page out of Martyn's book, and hopefully it will become something better in the recycling process. I just needed to get that off my chest. It's out now. If you listened all the way through, thank you. I appreciate that. If you have any thoughts, I hope you'll share them with me, and I hope you'll have a good day, evening, night, and that I will see you soon. Bye.